Hey guys, so I was really debating this video, making it what it is. I know you're all waiting for American Horror Story review. Don't worry, it's coming. It'll be late like always. I always do this at the end of the season. I'm like struggling to stay on top of the reviews, but I'm struggling in general to stay on top of anything this month. So I went and saw Happy Death Day on Halloween, and yes, I should have done the review way beforehand. I went and saw Jigsaw last night, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna make it a double whammy in a video, and we're gonna make it one video because we need to talk about these two movies specifically. They're kind of related in a way in my mind. Obviously you saw the title. These are probably the two worst movies that came out this year. I feel really bad saying that because Jigsaw I was really looking forward to. Happy Death Day I knew would be bad, so that's, you know, nothing new to me. So let's start with Jigsaw because even though I saw Happy Death Day a while ago, I want to start with Jigsaw because I saw it last night and I have some feelings about it. So I am an avid Saw fan, like an OG Saw fan. I was in high school when these movies came out and I was very excited about them. I loved them. It was a new genre kind of. It's just gore. It's just a gore movie. Like there's no other horror element at all to this but gore. Maybe like suspense, but that's not really a horror element to me. That's a suspense element. So the twists and turns that we get in this movie would have been cool if they were realistic at all. Realistic not in the sense of reality in the real world, but realistic in the Saw universe because they weren't. I had faith that, you know, I hadn't seen a Saw movie in theaters in a long time, and obviously throughout the Saw franchise they got a lot worse as the years went on. The first three I think are the best, and there were originally supposed to be 10 movies. It looks like now they're trying to do that again, but they did stop at a certain point. They were just getting really bad and I feel like the hype died down, but I still enjoyed them as a movie. It's kind of like watching Final Destination, you know, 4, which was the worst, and still like enjoying it as a Final Destination fan, but objectively it was just really bad. That's kind of where I'm at with Jigsaw. However, it didn't feel like a Saw movie to me for some reason, even though every element was pretty much in there. For some reason it didn't feel like I was watching Saw. I don't know why. That's a personal thing, not like a critique or whatever for the movie because it's just me. But let me know if I'm not alone in that. It just kind of felt like a different world. It could be that none of the real characters were in it, kind of. I don't know. It was just different, and the ending really threw me off as a Saw fan. If you're not a Saw fan, you might enjoy this movie as its own, just standalone, although you have to watch the other ones to even understand what's going on. So my biggest criticism with this movie is a huge spoiler. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't. But don't listen to this part of the video if you are going to see it. Basically, just save your money, don't see it in theaters, watch it at home, do a rental, whatever you do, because it's not worth seeing in theaters at all. It's not, you just need to see it at home if you like Saw movies. If you don't watch this movie at all. I don't know why you're watching this review, really. So at the end of the movie, forget all the traps. The traps, I think that's one of the reasons why, I'm like, forget the traps, but the traps. I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't feel like a Saw film, because the traps were so bad. Let me know if I'm alone in that opinion, because it didn't seem like they were, I don't know. Okay, they were done by John Kramer technically, but they were created by someone else because obviously John Kramer had been dead for a decade. But the person who took his place recreated this whole series, this whole game. So they were originally done by John Kramer, they just didn't feel like they were. And the first one, the first trap where they're in the buckets and there's the chain, you see it in the trailer, that trap is very similar to one that we've already seen, I believe in Saw 3, where they're in the house and they all have the chains and they're all being drugged to the wall. So that was very similar to me. And I feel like obviously you would run out of traps eventually, and that's kind of where they're at. I feel as they're trying to be creative now because they've done all the cool stuff. But the real issue I had with this movie was the twist. So I saw the new person who took over for Jigsaw a mile away. I saw him coming. I knew. They pointed fingers at so many different people, and when you do that, you narrow down the options of who it could possibly be, because the movie's just not going to make it obvious, right? So if it's not going to be obvious and you're pointing fingers at all these directions, guess who it's gonna be, the person you're not pointing a finger at. So I knew who the guy was going to be. The moment I knew, if you've seen the movie, is when the coroner is showing him the bullet and the detective said, well, this guy, the guy who is the suspect to take over John Kramer's work, carries a 17 or whatever, and then the guy pulls it out and he's like, this is a 17. That guy, the coroner guy, he's the guy. And I knew that because of that moment, because they didn't show us it, the bullet, kind of, and I was like, he could have easily just done that, like pulled out a 17. Like, especially if he's the killer, he's the one that shot him. It makes sense he could just pull that out of his ass. The girl, his assistant Eleanor, she definitely represents just, you know, the Tumblr community being obsessed with serial killers, and I thought that was kind of entertaining, to be honest, because she like is on the dark web looking up Jigsaw's work and buying all the the pieces from his work and all this stuff. The twist. So we get to the end and the detective is in a trap with the coroner guy, and you think it's the detective guy. That's the one that they've been pushing this whole movie pretty much, and who's been the major suspect in all of it. And then they do this whole little game. It's like a little game they have to confess. That's the whole theme of this movie, is people have done these wrongs and must confess. And well, the coroner says, I'm the one that messed up your x-rays, Jigsaw, because there was another twist of like Jigsaw's cancer could have been caught sooner. Anyway, and so he says that, but then he dies. He doesn't die because he's the guy. Then the other guy confesses and wins the game, and he thinks he's good to go, but then the other guy stands up and he's like, oh shit. So then he explains how he did it and why. And he decided to replicate Jigsaw's game because he was in it. He was in that game. He was the guy that wouldn't wake up in time to do the first game. So he would have died, and that's what we thought. And I thought for sure in that scene, when in the very beginning of the film, the first guy who didn't wake up dies, I was like, they are not showing any gore in this movie. What the hell? Like, they didn't show his death, and I thought that was really strange. So you find out that he was rescued by Jigsaw from the trap because Jigsaw made a mistake and said, accidents happen. You didn't mean to switch my x-rays. I'm gonna let you go. Does that sound like John Kramer to you? Does that sound like Jigsaw to you? Does he make mistakes? Has he ever made mistakes? No. And if he did feel this compassion all of a sudden for this guy and be like, you know what? Nope, he's innocent. It was a mistake. He probably had a bad day. I'm gonna let him go. He would have realized that way before the trap even started. So he would have not done it in the first place. He would have let him out way earlier than right before his death. So that twist made no sense to me because Jigsaw would not do that. Wouldn't do that. He doesn't take accidents into consideration, really. And I think that's a major thing of why this did not feel like a true Saw film. Let's move on to Happy Death Day. Again, one of the worst movies that came out this year. I hate being so negative, but like, I've been really positive lately on my channel, I feel, so it's time. I knew this was gonna be bad going into it. I saw the trailer and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, it's stupid. There were some redeeming moments to it, and I'll get into that, but overall, it was pretty bad and very predictable. And first of all, I just want to say, false advertising. In the trailer, they play 50 Cent, and we don't get any of that in the movie. And I was like, obviously we know the concept. This girl just keeps waking up and every day she dies. She's murdered every single day. And the montages were bad. I did love the score of this movie though. That was pretty good. This movie is in the same avenue of Sorority Row, that kind of thing where it's like college humor, black comedy. So I like Sorority Row. It's one of my guilty pleasure films. Haunting of Molly Hartley is a guilty pleasure film. It's kind of in that same realm. So like, I would probably watch this movie again for the same reason I would watch the other ones again. But are they good films? No. You could tell this film was made for like teenagers, people in college, based on the humor and just the love plot and all of that. It was just, you could tell there's an audience for this, and if you're within that audience, you probably love it. I am outside of that audience, so I didn't love it. It was entertaining. Like, I was way more entertained by this movie than I was Jigsaw. just because of the storyline. But one major thing that really pissed me off is they never explained why it even happened. Unless I missed something. Did I miss something? I'm pretty sure they didn't explain it though. This movie does have redeeming qualities because of the twist. I did not see the twist coming, so that was a nice surprise, honestly. Although I knew something was going to happen, I didn't expect what did happen. And then the ending, they kind of called attention to Groundhog's Day, and that whole bit was pretty funny, I'd say. Like the very last scene of the movie was funny. Let me know your thoughts on both of these movies, if you've seen them, or just if you're even interested in watching them at all, because I think overall most of us can agree that these are probably the two worst movies that came out. I will be doing, I think, a top 10 or whatever top movies that came out this year video or something along those lines. I haven't finalized the thoughts yet, but let me know if you want something like that. But these would definitely be in the worst films that came out this year. Let me know if you agree or disagree or any opinions down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon.